And we welcome you into this edition of The Spotlight. Thanks so much for joining us. My name is Drew Brent, and if you're in the market to buy or sell your home, give us a call today. It's 479-968-5668, or cruise on over to russellvilleliving.com. There are those people in Russellville who are mentors. They are teachers. They leave their thumbprint, their fingerprint on the industry that they represent, and nobody represents that better than Melanie Paterak, who is our guest at this time. Melanie, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
You're very welcome. You are a photographer extraordinaire. I think that's probably where most people know you. Talk a little bit about where that got started. How long have you been doing this?
Gosh, I started photography actually just taking pictures of my own kids in 2010. And I like to tell this story because it's kind of funny. Someone else opened my business page for me. They took the pictures of my little ones and they opened a Facebook page. And I was so angry about that because I thought, who would want to pay me to take pictures? And much to my surprise, people started inquiring, and I knew that I had to learn really quickly. And of course, that was before YouTube was a really big thing. And so I was in the library getting books and trying to learn more about photography. So I started there, and now I'm in a completely different capacity of photography today. I started, working for myself, and now I work for ATU. And so it's kind of cool how life just keeps transitioning on.
So a hobby becomes a career?
Yes, not as planned. I did not plan that.
Well, but who does? Really and truly, who does? How are you surprised by where you are right now?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not what I had intended, but I'm grateful, and I have always loved photography. I mean, I was the girl in high school that carried around the disposable cameras and got on my friends' nerves. That was me. But
and for disposable cameras for you kids out there, you used to have to buy those.
Yeah. Yeah, and they were great.
But they were great, especially when you found one you hadn't seen in a while.
Right. I've had that happen. But I never intended to make a living off of what I love, I guess. So it's really great.
When we were talking beforehand, we were talking about, things that had interested us as kids. And I told you, I've always been kind of a news journalism junkie. Were you always a photography junkie?
I wanted to be a dentist. I really did. Now, I would say I've always been a creative. But I had a dream when I was little of being a dentist. Where I veered off, I don't know. Like I said, in high school, I really liked to take pictures, and it just kind of took that direction. It wasn't what I planned.
I am curious about so much about you, because it seems to me when I've talked to people, when I told people that, hey, we were going to have you on the show, it seems like you are well known across especially the photography world. And when I ask you beforehand, hey, we're seeing all of these photography businesses pop up, which is always good, you said, that might be my fault.
It is.
Talk to me a little bit about that.
Okay, so actually for ATU, do you remember the continuing education department? Years and years ago, there was a continuing ed department where you could basically come as a community member and learn about all of these different things. And so photography was one of those things. I first taught photography as a basic course back in, it's been like 6 years. And that's when I first fell in love with education. So when Tech discontinued that class, I was really disappointed, and I just kept rolling on with my business. And then COVID happened, and I like to call it my COVID midlife crisis, because I feel like that's what it was. I was sitting at home one day with my kids, and I was just realizing how much I had missed, being gone. Every photography is sunset, right? So every evening. And I literally made an announcement on my business page that next day that I was no longer going to take new clients. And I had a passion in me to pass that on to other people in the area that were interested in photography. Not even necessarily from a business standpoint, but for people that had a desire in their heart to create. And I just kind of put feelers out there on my Instagram. I said, so if I started teaching, is there anyone out there that would want to learn from me? I didn't think anyone would say yes. And they did. And so I started teaching online because of COVID. And it just really took off. And now I have I have a little Facebook group, and it seems silly, but it's my Mentor with Melanie Page, and it's a great, safe place for people to ask questions. I tell them no question is too big, no question is too small, and I don't know everything, but if I don't know, I'll figure it out. And we all just bounce ideas off of each other in there. It's a great community for people that just want to learn and create art for other people, you know?
I do. There's something about passing it on that
Mm-hmm.
really is fulfilling.
Absolutely.
I lecture over at Arkansas Tech about 3 times a semester in the journalism department. And about halfway through the lecture, you can tell some of these kids, the light bulbs are coming on.
Yes.
And when that moment happens, you're like, okay.
I want to fist bump in that moment and
Yeah.
like jump up and down, because when I watch other people fall in love with it, like I remember my light bulb moment. I remember where I was sitting when I realized my job was huge, and like I was putting memories on people's wall that was sometimes their last moments with their family. So to watch other people grab hold of that and really have that huge desire to create beautiful things for other people, it's where it's at for me.
So you strike me as the type then that's not going to be resentful of anybody who really necessarily wants to be a photographer.
No, I tell them, and I mean this, I want their skill set to be so much higher than mine. Like, I want them to grab hold of what I teach as a base and then just exceed, just knock it out. Because I feel like when I tell someone I'm not taking new clients anymore, but this person is, I want them to be so impressed with what they get,
Right.
And so I give everything. I get everything that I've gathered in 10 years, anything that I've learned, I literally give every piece of that. And then I hope that they just do better.
So where does all of that passion come from?
Education-wise,
Any of it?
I think from loving people. That sounds like such a elementary answer, but I mean it.
It's a Hobby Lobby answer, but I'm
It
okay
is.
with it.
We love Hobby Lobby. But I mean that is true. I genuinely have a love for people. I like to watch people light up. When I teach the workshops, sometimes I'll stop and look around and just watch how much fun people are having, just creating, and being happy. No one understands your field like your peers do. So like,
Yeah.
it's important to have that community over competition mindset.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do. There was always this thought when I was in school that once you got into Little Rock television or television in general, that it was like Anchorman,
Yes.
where everybody fought and hated one another, and that wasn't true at all. In fact, people from 4, 7, and 11, sometimes 16, got together as a support system because you couldn't understand. No, you can't relay that kind of feeling towards somebody who didn't understand it. Is that similar to what you're talking about?
Oh yeah. I mean, you have to have people that go through what you go through in your field, and we do stuff like that. Like sometimes we just get together and we don't work. We just eat and talk about, what we've photographed that week or whatever. It can be simple, or it can be something as big as this workshop we're working on right now. I mean, it's like 6 styled shoots, and it's pretty in depth, but as long as that support system is there, that's all that matters.
I've talked to several musicians on this show over the last few weeks. Had Ryan Harmon and some guy named Rob over the last little bit, Caitlin Pyle. I'll ask you this too, because I put creatives all in one kind of. You may be a different kind of creative, but you're still creative. Every artist, I was told, has one story to tell.
Oh, the pressure of that.
So what's the story?
It's kind of sad. Do you want me to tell my light bulb story? I tell this story
Yeah.
a lot. So I started photography in a time that was Pinterest driven, meaning I was creating exactly what I was told to create. Moms would come with pictures from Pinterest, and that's what they wanted. And I knew that photography was like a creative outlet, but I guess I didn't know that I could be creative. So I was getting direction and doing. And I knew certain things excited me in my field and certain things didn't, but I hadn't pieced all of that together. And one night I was just online looking for workshops to take, and I came across a workshop. And in the workshop, this woman talks about one of her clients is diagnosed with cancer. And she's very young, and she has a little boy. And she said, her client said to her, I literally just want you to document what we do every day. I want you to come over and I want you to get us getting the vegetables from the garden, taking them to the sink, washing the vegetables, going back and forth. And when I get out of the hospital from my treatment, then we'll do something more pose, more Pinterest, if you will. And so she came over and she said she was documenting them, the dirt, all of the things that were so valuable. And she told her bye and she went in for her treatment and she never made it out.
Oh.
And so in that moment, of course, I was sitting at my computer sobbing, and it was
Right.
like this realization for me, wow, like what I do is so important. And this is going to sound dramatic, but I was almost ashamed of myself because at that time I was creating generic art that looked just like the last person that
Paint by
had been
number.
yeah. And everything changed to me that night. I went to my Instagram, and anything that was posed and fake looking, I deleted. My editing changed, and I would have people show up to sessions and I would start to ask real questions. Tell me your story. Tell me your thing. What do you guys do when you're just home or playing in the yard? And if Dad would say, you know, our thing is fist bumps, I would say, I want to get that. Fist bump with your son. Or if Mom would say, I spin her around the yard, spin her right now. You don't have to look at me and say cheese. Let's capture what you really do. I
Yeah.
had this passion to tell people stories through portraits. And so everything changed because of that workshop, you know?
When you have that light bulb moment, you said this. I want to follow up on this. I was almost ashamed of myself because I was creating generic art. But I'll push back. Is there such thing?
You know, I guess there's not, because we're all individuals and we're all different people. I guess I felt like the work that I was creating all looked the same.
Yeah.
You know, and I wasn't doing a good enough job of telling individual stories. And that was super important. I have had people, and again, I don't know why we're going to death, but I've had people pass away shortly after their sessions, and I've had women hug me at funerals and say, look around, like this is all we have left. And sometimes that is. And it's big. Photography is big. And you always hear that quote, you know, you never know how important a portrait is until it's all you have.
Right.
And so for me, internally, something shifted, and I didn't want to create the Pinterest cheese anymore. I really had this desire to tell people stories. And so that's what I did.
Here's the next question, and this
Okay.
is where sometimes the interviews get deep.
Oh,
All right?
boy.
All right, here we go.
Okay.
You say, I have this desire to create something. I have this desire in my heart to make. But where does that desire come from? What's the source of that?
Oh, gosh, I don't want to go back to my Hobby Lobby answer.
you fixing to tell me live, love, and hope? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah. You know, I think caring about people as individuals and maybe just being intrigued by everyone. Like, is that a journalism thing? Wanting to know their story and like really, I want to make people cry for a living. Can I say that? So like I wanted them to see their picture and be like, wow, I'm
Yeah.
moved by this moment. Like you went above and beyond. Like I expected a picture and what I got was art. I expected a smile and what I got was a moment. Does that?
It actually does make sense because it is journalistic
Mhm.
in some ways. You know, I'm fascinated by people's stories
Mhm, me
because
too.
it's the motivation for why they do certain things or how certain things happen. I am fascinated by the fact that if Archduke Ferdinand's vehicle had not passed by a second time, World War I maybe
Right.
would not have happened. You know,
Right.
it was those moments that changed history,
Everything.
and those are the moments that you're capturing.
I want to document them and I want to preserve them forever. I want to put them on your walls and I want them to stay there and you never forget, you know?
I'm going back to the quote that I said earlier. Every artist has one story to tell. Most of the time, and I asked Rob this too, is it possible that the story you're trying to tell through other people is your story? And if so, what is it?
You have such deep questions. I was not prepared.
He told me that too.
Ask it again. Say it one more time because I was just letting it sink in.
If it's possible that every artist has one story to tell, is it possible that that story is your story?
Mhm.
through the art you're creating?
I think that's a twofold answer. So I'm a mom, and I think that I have a desire in my heart as I'm going through day-to-day life with my kids. I think several times a day, I wish I had this. I wish I had this documented. Like, I wish I had this moment on my wall.
Yeah.
So when I go into a portrait session, I think that's always at the forefront of my mind. You know what I mean? I think my story to tell would be motherhood, right? And so I do enjoy creating for other moms and other families, maybe because that's my heartbeat, you know?
We're talking to Melanie Paterak. By the way, do you have, you've got the Mentors for Melanie Facebook page, right?
Well, for people that have invested in education, yes, but they can just go to my website if they want to learn about the education that I offer.
Okay, and what is that website?
www.portraitsbymelaniepaterack.com.
Okay, and by the way, I have been on that website.
You
There's
have?
some outstanding stuff there, so
Awesome.
please go check it out.
Thank you.
Couple of things that I want to touch back on because I'm still interested. It's that here goes that journalism thing we were talking about earlier. The photographer Melanie has this grandiose story to tell through her art.
Mm-hmm.
Who is the person behind the photographer?
Who am I as an individual?
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. Do you want me to just give you titles, hats? Like, how do I answer
Hit me
that?
with it.
I'm a mother. Right now, I'm a business owner and a college student, and all of these things.
Has the college student thing completely? Okay, we are both college students
Yes,
currently.
yes.
Is it
We're
so-
old college students.
I never.
Does your back hurt? Is that what you're doing?
Yes, so bad. And I swore I would never be that guy who came in as the old non-traditional, and then I did. And what's even weirder is that these classes that I come and I lecture in, some of those students are in class with me as a student.
No.
And you're going, what? This is so weird. Was it weird for you? Was it a weird adjustment?
Oh, yeah, it was super weird. But I've also noticed the perks of this. When I was young, I would say that I did not have the drive to finish school that I do now. There's no failure in my future as far as, like, I look at those three little faces at home.
Yeah.
And I know that I will finish, not only finish, but finish well. So I don't have to pull for motivation, if that makes sense, whereas before I did. So I look at it as a positive thing, even though I'm old and tired.
Are you a better student now than you were?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I am too.
I'm making good grades.
You know, it's hit. This is what's weird, and I don't want to sound crass when I say this, but I'm actually like learning it.
Yeah.
I'm not like. Does that make sense? Like, I'm not just studying for the test.
Right.
I'm actually understanding and learning it.
It's sticking around.
Yeah, and you apply it. And
I apply it.
Is that not the weirdest thing?
Well, I've noticed in one of my classes, they were talking about, like, different learning techniques or, different studying strategies. And 20-year-old Melanie would have probably thought that that was blowing off.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, wow, that's really interesting. Like, I didn't know that that's the way I learned and processed information. So how can I apply that to my life? And so I'm kind of a nerd now, but I'm okay with it.
I was telling my wife the other day that I always knew I was a bit of a nerd anyway, but now I'm embracing it.
Embrace your nerdness.
Right. Yeah. I think everybody kind of does as they get older. I mean, just a little bit. Like, not just going to school. I hate to even really admit this. I kind of really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like, a lot. Do you see some of that too?
Oh yeah, I enjoy it. I didn't think I would ever enjoy studying. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But like you said about retaining that information, I can feel the knowledge kicking in, and and you see the end result.
Yeah.
And that has a huge perk for me. I can look at that end result and know that I'm working towards something. It's important.
I want my kid to see that it's not impossible.
Absolutely.
Is that kind of the same motivation?
I want them to look at me and to know that it doesn't matter what stage of life you're in. They can literally do anything they want at any time that they want. And it's hard sometimes. I'm not going to lie, it's hard and I get tired. But I want them to know that it's all for them. You know what I mean? And I want them to be motivated.
Now, there are challenges with all of this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are challenges that go with school. There are challenges that go with being a business owner. There are
Mm-hmm.
challenges with being a parent. God knows that.
Mm-hmm.
We know that. How do you overcome some of those challenges and maybe any extracurricular challenges that come up along the way?
I have children in every stage of life right now. So I have a teenager, I have a middle school kid, and I have a toddler. So challenges are frequent in our house. And you ask how I overcome that. I would say literally putting one foot in front of the other every day. And I learned a long time ago to not ask, and I share this with people a lot, but not ask, why is this happening to me, but ask, what is this teaching me? And
Yeah.
so I get so many valuable lessons in shifting my mindset and saying, okay, so this is hard and today is hard, but what is this teaching me? A lot of times it's just teaching me to not do it this way tomorrow,
Right.
you know? But I've had lots of life lessons and you just keep going.
Does faith play an important part of that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, there have been so many times. I have that song. It's just in my head now. But all I need is you. And so there have been many times that literally all I had was my faith, it felt that way. That was
Sure.
all I had. You know. And so I think that I've held on to that in every situation. When I'm tired, when I'm happy, when all of the things.
All of the things.
Yeah.
That's what we say in our house too. Just when
Mhm.
all of the things we've got God, and
All I need is you.
That's really all. Just if it boils down to it,
Yes.
that's what you've got.
That's right.
You've got kids in every stage of life. That's interesting to me. Talk about the culture shock from 15 to like 4, or how was the youngest one?
He is going to be 4. We share a birthday. So we'll both have our birthday in April, and he will be 4.
Okay, so from 15 to 4, how does that work?
We have a lot of fun in
Yeah.
our house. We really do. Seriously, we have a lot of fun. It's been good for my older kids to just learn to relax and go with the flow. Like, chaos is happening in the house all of the time, and we laugh all of the time. We dance in the kitchen every night. We dance on the way to school. If the toddler's having a fit, we don't get stressed. We just kind of laugh through it. I mean, seriously, I think that might be something about being an older mom too, because I don't know if I would have been that relaxed 20-year-old me again.
There is something to that. My kiddo's my bonus kiddo, so I came into her life when she was about 3, and it was funny because her mother was already a little bit more relaxed than I was, just because she had been around this part of it. And anytime a door would, I mean, she was walking okay. She was 3 and doing that, but I mean, she had a stroke at birth, and so she's had a little bit of trouble walking sometimes. And anytime she would hit the dirt, I was just I'm diving with a pillow or whatever else. And, you're worried about it. And Jamie's also worried about it, but she's somehow calmer.
Yeah.
Whereas now the question is, are you bleeding? No, you're fine.
You're fine. Yeah.
You're fine.
Yeah, you just kind of learn to roll with the punches, and just, if they're not laughing, then I'm failing somewhere. And I just want them to I want their home to be a peaceful place at all the time. So I try to we don't stress about anything.
You've mentioned 20-year-old Melanie a lot. So let's talk to her for a minute.
Okay.
What would you tell 20-year-old Melanie?
Oh my gosh, to chill out, to relax. Yeah, I would say I was much more stressed then than I am now. I would say to 20-year-old Melanie to probably, just focus on loving people. You know what I mean? Just be happy and focus on loving people. Don't be so hard on yourself. I could probably say that to me now, too.
Could you say that to you now?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, just chill. It's going to be fine.
Yeah. Don't be so hard on yourself is what I could say to me now. Yeah.
Excellent.
Juggling a lot of things,
Well, but when you juggle a lot of things, and those same moments that you have those stresses where you're like, okay, all I have is you. Do you, in the same vein, also have those wins?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We have lots of wins. We have lots of things to celebrate. I'm thankful for where I am. I'm thankful for my job and everyone's healthy, and we're doing great. No complaints at all.
Let's hit them with that website again.
Okay, it's www.portraitsbymelaniepaterack.com.
All right, and the Facebook page?
Just Portraits by Melanie.
All right, Portraits by Melanie,
Mhm.
and then portraits by MelaniePaterak.com.
Yes.
Are you taking clients anymore?
So I am photographing previous clients only, and
Okay.
people that have used me for the last 10 years, and that was not my plan, to be quite honest. I was going to quit entirely. That was my plan. Another COVID just moment for me. But I found out very quickly that I really needed my clients and they needed me. So I refer new inquiries to the people that I'm educating.
This has been an absolute pleasure. We've
Thank
got to
you.
do it again.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, good luck in class. Midterms are coming up.
Yes.
Just heads up.
Yes.
I'm also very aware of that. So,
yes.
all right.
It's a good time.
Melanie Paterak, thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome, and thank you for joining us today on The Spotlight. Remember, if you're in the market to buy or sell your home, give us a call today. It's 479-968-5668. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.